What's good, y'all? This your boy blakghiphopsjigsaw. Now, before I get started with this reaction video, I'll just say I've been seeing quite a bit of craziness going down on social media these past couple days. Actually, like going on like 5 days to count, like the last couple days of last week, going into the third day and of this week. So it's been going crazy, and I got a lot to say about that, which I'll probably say for a live stream, which I'll probably do. If not tomorrow night, maybe the night after tomorrow night. Who knows? It all depends on the schedule and how things go from here. Cause got plans as such to be out of town this coming Friday, see my little bro graduate from jump school and all that good shit. And also, before I get started as well, I like to say rest in peace to P&B Rock. You know what I mean? What happened to him was messed up, and you know what I mean, is another case of being at the wrong place at the wrong time type of deal. So I might speak more on that situation in that same live stream, which I might just go ahead and fucking do it tomorrow. So I get it on out the way after I do these reaction videos. Like, gonna be 3 in total. Gonna do another one tonight, then another one tomorrow. So could be a lot of material coming y'all way. So I'm going to get started on this reaction to this documentary titled Queen of Hearts, the Natayla story. Shout out to the two people that gave me this documentary to react to. I'm going to see what this documentary looking like in about 3, 2, 1.
To this day, the Harts remain one of the greatest families in wrestling history.
Okay.
But then how could they be anything other after they've given us the likes of Brett, Owen, and Stu? In recent years, though, the family flag has been flown by another, someone who, with just as much skills as her uncles, has been able to in many ways redefine women's wrestling in WWE and keep it alive during some of its darkest days. Yes, over the past 2 decades, Natayla has become one of the all-time greats. But how did it all happen?
I'd love to see this
today as
and
we
hear
take a
this
deep
story.
dive into her entire career journey so far in Queen of Hearts, the Natayla story. Natalie Catherine Neidhart was born in Calgary, Alberta, Canada on May 27, 1982 to parents Jim and Elizabeth. And with the former of these being Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and the latter being Elizabeth Hart, the sister of Brett and Owen, this would mean that Natalie would grow up amongst one of the greatest dynasties the industry has ever seen.
Very fortunate,
this then
indeed.
would lead to the youngster falling in love with the ring at an early age, fascinated by seeing her family on TV every week and listening to her Uncle Stu train other young prospects in the famed Hart family dungeon.
Wow.
So while her sisters Jennifer and Kristen would venture out on different career paths, with the former eventually becoming a gourmet chef, Natalie would decide to start training in wrestling instead at the earliest opportunity, becoming the first woman to learn the ropes in the dungeon in the process.
Interesting.
And quickly she would prove herself to be a natural, just like many of her kin had done before her. But that said, this wasn't the only form of athletics she was getting involved in as a child, because, while attending Bishop Carroll High School, she would also train in jiu-jitsu, amateur wrestling, dance, and gymnastics, all while becoming close friends with both Harry Smith, the son of the British Bulldog, and T.J. Wilson, the man who would later go on to become WWE superstar Tyson Kidd. Of course, with TJ, though, things would soon develop further than just friendship, as, in 2001, the two had become an item, something which had happened right around the same time that, after serving a brief spell as a vacuum cleaner saleswoman, Natalie was first breaking into the wrestling industry herself by working as a ring announcer for the Eric Bischoff-led youth promotion, Mat Rats. 2 years after that, and she'd finally get a chance to perform in the ring as an active performer when she moved over to the newly revived Stampede Wrestling, the very same promotion her grandfather had formed years prior, as there, she got into a lengthy feud with Belle Lovitz. And so successful would this program be for her that, come mid-2004, the Canadian would start to get booking as far and wide as England, the latter of which would see her wrestle under the name of Nadia Hart and pick up a lot of experience from the local Japanese women's scene.
Okay.
So when she returned to Canada a few months later then, she'd take what she learned and use it to build a heel character for herself, one who from there would go on to become known as Nasty Natty, the scourge of the Stampede's women's
Nasty
division.
Natty. That's a pretty edgy name.
Would ultimately see her become Stampede Women's Pacific Champion in mid-2005. Natty would have to vacate the belt a few months later when a ligament tear forced her onto the shelf until October of 2006.
Sounds painful.
At which point she would return to make her debut for Shimmer Women Athletes, probably the #1 all-women's promotion in North America at that time. So good was it, in fact, Natty would now have to prove herself at an altogether different level, as she began taking on the likes of Lisa Moretti, the former Ivory, and Sarah Del Rey, the woman who would later become responsible for training Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch, amongst others.
Quite the connections.
So, even with this increased level of competition, the Calgary girl was able to not only hang, but excel as a member of the Shimmer roster, at one point becoming their Supergirls champion, all before, in January of 2007, she would receive an offer to sign a developmental contract with WWE.
Okay, very impressive record.
Taco Bell's breakfast quesadilla might be
Can't wait to skip. It looks good, but I'm not in the mood to watch this damn shit. Shut up.
And jumping at the opportunity from there, Natty would say her farewell to Shimmer a few weeks later, all before relocating to Georgia for a while, where she would perform for Deep South Wrestling, Vince McMahon's preferred developmental territory at the time. Then, after impressing there in matches against the likes of Chrissy Vane and Angel Williams, she'd be moved over to Ohio Valley Wrestling, where she'd begin aligning herself with her cousin and old friend Harry Smith, as well as his partner Teddy Hart.
Okay.
But that wasn't all she was doing during this period, as she would also continue to wrestle herself, getting into a notable feud with Alicia Fox, which impressed the bosses so much that, on April 4th, 2008, she'd get her official call-up to the main roster, where she would continue to play her villainous character, though now with the slightly simplified name of Natayla. Unfortunately, though, this was an era of WWE where women's wrestling was once again being treated like little more than a sideshow. So struggling to make a name for herself when she had a limited amount of dance partners on her level to work with, Natayla would try her best to push on through those early months by picking up wins against the likes of Michelle McCool, Cherry, and the Bella Twins, all while teaming up with the more experienced Victoria. This association with Victoria would end in January of 2009, however, after she decided to retire from the ring, leaving Natty floundering once more as, without her partner there to anchor her, she began getting lost in the sea of gimmick dress-up matches the girls were being asked to take part in.
Damn.
Luckily then, in 2009, she would get another lease on life when she was drafted over to the ECW brand, there getting to manage her real-life boyfriend TJ, who had by this point joined WWE himself, and rebranded himself as Tyson Kidd. Soon after that, they'd be joined by a third member in Natty's cousin David Hart Smith, with the trio from there becoming known as the Hart Dynasty.
Interesting name. Very fitting indeed.
Of 2009, they'd all be moved back up to SmackDown, where they would enter into a feud with Crime Time and Eve Torres.
Ooh, that leg.
Following this, Natayla would get a chance to take on some better competition when she wrestled matches against the likes of Mickie James and Beth Phoenix. Then, from there, she'd also get involved in the WrestleMania 26 feud between Bret Hart and Vince McMahon in 2010, turning babyface in the process. And now on the side of the good guys then, Natty would be standing in the other members of the Hart Dynasty's corner when they defeated The Miz and The Big Show to become unified tag team champions that April. And as if this wasn't enough, the day after, all three would be moved over to Raw where, now having
what's
a
up with the
whole new
blurry
roster to work
screen?
with, they would shine. Particularly during their program with the Usos and Tamina.
Why
over the
would
course of
this
the summer.
screen blank?
Program which would
Blank,
eventually
like,
see the trio of babyfaces
blurry.
get the win during a six-man tag at June 20th's Fatal 4-Way pay-per-view. Unfortunately, though, soon after that, Kidd and Smith would lose the tag team titles to Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, with this being
Hey,
enough
all
to
good
cause
things
friction
come to an
between
end.
them and ultimately lead towards the team breaking up. So with the Hart Dynasty now officially disbanded then, Natayla would take the opportunity to reestablish herself as a... Soon after that, Kidd and Smith would lose the tag team titles to Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, with this being enough to cause friction between them and ultimately lead towards the team breaking up. So with the Hart Dynasty now officially
all good things
disbanded
come to
then,
end.
Natayla would take the opportunity to reestablish herself as a singles competitor, something she was quick to do when, on the September 22nd
okay, what's
episode
up
of
with the
Raw,
blurry
she won a
screens?
Battle Royal to become #1 contender to the Unified Divas Championship, then being co-held by Michelle McCool and Layla. But despite clearly being the best wrestler of the three, when Natty finally got her shot at the gold, taking on McCool at October 3rd's Hell in a Cell, she would only be able to pick up a disqualification win, with this allowing the heels to keep hold of the title as a result. And as if this wasn't bad enough, during the rematch a few weeks later, one which would see the Canadian take on Layla this time, the other half of Lay Cool would get involved and cost the babyface the title for a second time.
Damn.
This then would all lead to November 21st Survivor Series, where, in one last effort, Natayla would face off against both Michelle McCool and Layla in a handicap match. With
Damn,
the
2-on-1.
the line. And here, finally, after just over 3 minutes, the challenger was able to win the title that had eluded her after she tapped out both of her opponents at the same time.
At the same time. I need to see this match. That looks.
Now,
That's something you'll see every day.
In the division, Natty would begin forming an alliance with Beth Phoenix as the two went on to make short work of Lay Cool during the first ever women's tables match in WWE history at December's Tables, Ladders, and Chairs pay-per-view. This alliance, however, wouldn't be enough to keep the Divas title around her waist as, at the 2011 Royal Rumble a month later, the champion would be beaten by Eve Torres in a fatal four-way match that also included both members of Lay Cool. And what made matters worse here was that as a result of the match stipulation, Natty had lost her title without even being pinned that night. So still filming, she would take out the full force of her rage on the SmackDown Women's division when she was drafted over there in April of that year. That wasn't to say she didn't make friends on the Blue brand, though, as, well, there, she would become something of an on-screen mentor to AJ Lee and Caitlyn, even going as far as to manage them during some of their matches.
Okay.
Come August, though, things would change when, after suffering a series of losses, Natty would turn heel on her proteges, from there declaring war on what she saw as the perky little princesses that made up the rest of the division. And as part of this storyline, she would realign herself with Beth Phoenix as, together, the two became known as the Divas of Doom, a duo who dominated the SmackDown Women's division in the months that followed. So dominant were they, in fact, that the Glamazon would become the Divas champion herself in October when she defeated Kelly Kelly.
Dang, strong as shit.
The title stayed within her stable then, Natayla would be there during each one of her partner's title defenses afterwards, usually interfering at some point and helping Phoenix to get the win come the end. Sadly, though, despite proving themselves to be the most dominating force the women's division had seen since the days of China, the Calgary girl would end up taking something of a step backwards soon after this when WWE began saddling her with the awful comedy gimmick of someone who continually farted on screen.
Oh.
Yes, it was just another example of Vince McMahon's increasingly bad booking ideas. By this point, luckily, Natty was talented enough to be able to weather it up until the point where, in the spring of 2012, the Divas of Doom would split, and she would once again align herself on screen with her longtime boyfriend, Tyson Kidd.
Dang, how long have they been dating?
We would see the former Divas champion begin a feud with Caitlyn, the then protege of Kidd, after she became jealous of how much time he was spending with the rookie. But while this feud would continue on for much of the summer, and would see the two trade wins back and forth, in the end, it would be Caitlyn who would come out on top when she beat her rival on the August 31st episode of SmackDown, putting the whole thing to bed once and for all. After that, Natty would begin an on-screen relationship with the Great Khali, turning babyface in the process. But while her love life was going in new directions in the ring, outside of it, she remained an item with Tyson Kidd.
Okay.
And on June 26th of 2013, the two would finally tie the knot in a ceremony that was filmed for the reality TV series Total Divas.
How sweet.
By then, the E!
How
Entertainment
sweet.
Channel had partnered up with WWE to create a new show that would explore the life of the company's female roster, both in and out of the ring. With the original iteration
Total
of the
Divas.
cast, including the Bellas, Naomi, Cameron, Eva Marie, JoJo, and Natayla herself. So to further promote this, the Canadian would begin feuding with the Bellas on WWE TV, even picking up a win over Brie at that year's SummerSlam.
Damn, I know that had to be
The
painful.
cast of Total Divas would find themselves coming together over a common enemy when then Divas champion AJ Lee would take umbrage with the show, criticizing all the women involved for allowing themselves to take part in it.
Well, damn. Talk about trouble in paradise.
Little Caesars is now the official pizza of the NFL.
And shout out to Little Caesars for being official like pizza place to be sponsored by the NFL.
On October 7th,
He's a good crocodile.
And
comedy event that will have
I
you
don't
screaming
care.
for more.
Is that a crocodile?
Lyle Crocodile.
Looks like it's gonna be a fun movie.
And this would lead to a number of opportunities for Natty to take the title from AJ.
Okay.
First, at September 15th,
I need to see this
Saturday
match.
Champions during a fatal four-way match, which also included Brie Bella and Naomi, and then again in a singles match on an episode of Main Event that November. Ultimately, however, AJ would be able to win both of these encounters, robbing
looks
Natalya
like
the
it.
chance of becoming a two-time champion.
Damn.
So, hoping to find success elsewhere then, she would move over to NXT temporarily when she challenged Paige for that brand's women's championship. But when this turned out to be unsuccessful too, she would be forced to return to the main roster, just in time for WrestleMania 30, where she would get to take part in a 14-woman battle royal.
Damn,
Coming out on the
14
losing
battle
end,
royale.
whereas, following the defeat, she made yet another foray to NXT when she challenged Charlotte Flair at the inaugural TakeOver.
Ooh, Charlotte Flair.
After another loss there, though,
Damn,
she would finally
5
bounce back when
losses.
Her and Tyson Kidd began aligning themselves with Cesaro, and quickly finding that they had great chemistry together then, Kidd and Cesaro would be able to win the tag team gold when they defeated the Usos at February 22nd, 2015's Fastlane, all while Natalya was in their corner, of course. But still, she wasn't content with being just a manager to the tag team champions. No, she wanted gold around her own waist too, and so, from there, she would spend the rest of the year building her way back up the women's division, beating the likes of Alicia Fox and Cameron in the process. That was until the June 1st episode of Raw, at which point Natty's priorities would change when, following a botched muscle buster during a match with Samoa Joe, Tyson Kidd would suffer a severe neck injury, which almost left him paralyzed.
Woo!
Of course, it goes without saying then that this would mark the end of his in-ring career, with his wife taking a few months off herself at this point so she could care for him while he recovered from surgery. When she did return again after that, it was to confront Paige, who, by now having moved up to the main roster and turned heel, was making it her mission to inflict misery upon the, at the time, Divas champion, Charlotte Flair, at every turn. And when Natty finally met the anti-diva one-on-one in the ring a couple of weeks later on Raw, it would be her who would get the win, with this re-establishing her as a major player in this now changed women's division. Yes, by that point, WWE had started what they would initially refer to as the Divas Revolution, an attempt to address the negative fan perception which had built up around their treatment of the ladies over the prior decade or so. And this would see new faces be added to the roster in the form of Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks, 3 women who, along with Bayley, had helped to redefine what women's wrestling could be inside a WWE ring over in NXT. So now, with some of the best women's wrestlers in North America to work with, Natalya finally got a chance to show how good she could really be when she got into a brief feud with Team Bad that eventually saw her pick up winning pinfalls over both Naomi and Tamina. After that, though, a broken ankle would force her to take a couple of months off, following which she would return to re-enter the title scene when she unsuccessfully challenged Charlotte for the Divas Championship at March 14th, 2016's Roadblock pay-per-view. Still, even if she had failed to win the title, she would soon find new allies in the form of Paige, Alicia Fox, Brie Bella, and Eva Marie, 4 of her Total Divas castmates, as together they teamed up to take on Team Bad and Blonde at WrestleMania 32.
Okay.
And
Shout
while
out to
this
them
was
for that
going on
dub.
Over on the main show, Charlotte Flair was defeating Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch to become the new WWE Women's Champion.
Yeah, Charlotte Flair was getting them dubs back to back.
Disrespected, as she believed it was her who should hold the gold instead of being relegated to an afterthought. So this then would lead to a feud developing between the two in the weeks that followed, with it all climaxing in a match at May 1st's Payback, where the champ would retain after a finish which aped the infamous Montreal Screwjob that had happened to Natalya's uncle Brett 19 years earlier.
Damn.
And this would ultimately
Screwjob.
contribute towards the Canadian deciding enough was enough, as a month later at Money in the Bank, she would turn heel on her partner that night, Becky Lynch.
Damn, just
They
throwing hands
would
on her.
feud with the last kicker right through the brand split, which saw both be signed full-time to SmackDown. But despite being the most experienced woman on the Blue Brand's roster, Natty would not be able to get the better of Becky when, during a 6-pack elimination challenge to crown the new SmackDown Women's Champion at September 11th's Backlash, it would be the Irish woman who picked up the win and the title come the end. After that then, she would move on to a feud with Nikki Bella which lasted for the remainder of the year, all before spending the first half of 2017 milling around in more of a utility role and rarely getting any kind of story to sink her teeth into. That would change at August 20th SummerSlam though, as it was there that she would get a chance to challenge Naomi for the SmackDown Women's title, beating her in the end to become the first woman in the company's history to hold both the Divas and Women's straps. And so now reinvigorated again, Natalya would wear the belt with pride as she spent the next couple of months racking up defenses against the likes of Naomi and Charlotte Flair. Ultimately, though, it would be the latter person who would eventually dethrone her on the November 14th episode of the Blue Brand, ending her reign at 86 days. So, hoping to rebound, she would enter the first ever Women's Royal Rumble in January 2018, failing to win here, but putting on a strong effort regardless. Then, not long after this, she'd be drafted over to Raw, where she would turn face once more and align herself with Ronda Rousey, revealing herself at this point to be the former UFC Bantamweight Champion's real-life friend and training partner. And while this appeared to be leading to a story where the two would eventually turn on each other and start a feud, the whole thing never really materialized, as instead, after taking a brief hiatus to grieve the death of her father in August of that year, she'd returned to start a feud with Ruby Riott and the rest of the Riott Squad, one which saw the former women's champion team with Sasha Banks and Bayley to take on all three members of the heel stable at the all-women's pay-per-view Evolution on October 28th. After that, she would finally get a chance to go one-on-one with Ronda Rousey, though under far friendlier terms than might have initially been expected, when she won an 8-woman gauntlet match on the December 17th episode of Raw, granting her a shot at Rousey's Raw Women's title. But despite putting on her best effort when the time for the match came the following week, Natty was not able to get the win as, from there, she'd returned to the tag team division for a while when, at March 10th, 2019's Fastlane pay-per-view, she teamed with Beth Phoenix once again to reform the Divas of Doom, a partnership that would ultimately see the two become involved in the women's tag team title match at WrestleMania 35. Since this point, though, with Phoenix returning to the commentary booth over on NXT, Natayla has gone back to being a singles wrestler, once again filling up a utility role as one of the elder stateswomen of the women's roster. Someone who can always be counted on to have a good match and help other younger stars improve their skills. But at the same time, one who has now largely stepped aside and let others take the role of the division's top stars. Sure, she'll still get some good storylines and matches, such as her SummerSlam 2019 bout with Becky Lynch over the Raw Women's title, and her brief women's tag title run with Tamina in 2020, or her one-on-one showing with Lacey Evans at the Saudi Arabia show Crown Jewel. That said, as her career begins to wind down now, it's likely she'll sink more and more into a mentor role as time goes on. And when the day comes that she does eventually retire, there are few women in wrestling who would be better suited to being a trainer as, with her family pedigree and years of great in-ring work, Natalya Neidhart can surely stand as one of the all-time greats of women's wrestling.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, especially how much work she put in throughout her career. And I'll wait till this whole...
Subscribe to the channel, as well as follow
another insightful documentary, entertaining documentary from Wrestle with Andy. And I was about to say, yeah, I mean, Natalya definitely put in work throughout her career and such. A lot of L's and quite a few dubs as well along the way. And we got some interesting matchups. I'd like to see a few of those matches. Let me know in the comment section which one I should react to that ain't gonna have me copyright stricken. Damn, I can't talk right now. But anyway, you already know, like what I mentioned, like let me know some matches she's been part of, like the ones that have been mentioned in this documentary, so I can see for myself. You know what I mean? So yeah, and plus based on the little like outro, whatever, yeah, I could definitely see her being the whole mentor and such with the whole family background and all the matches and such. She could definitely be that mentor role for the younger wrestlers and such that's on the come up. So, but it's something left. We just gotta wait and see. See what people saying in the comment section. Most overrated, overlooked, underappreciated veterans. Give respect, recognition he deserves. Oh yeah, that's definitely the case for that. Perfect veteran to call whenever they need someone to work with the younger talent. She's in NX. Hopefully she can win the NX title somewhere down the line as well. Oh yeah, we just gotta wait and see what happens here on out. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and sign on out. Let me know in the comment section below if you want me to react to any more of these documentaries or say songs, music videos, TV trailers, movie clips, or countdowns. Did I say countdowns? If I haven't said countdowns, I mentioned it right now, as well as analysis videos. Post them in the comment section below. And if this is your first time watching this reaction video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that notification button, hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to follow me on my social media accounts, which will be posted in the description box below. And also hit up that donation link to my Cash App if you're able to support the channel. That will be posted in the description box below. This is your boy blakgh92, about to sign off. Holla at your boy. Peace.